Hi, my name is Alia Seedleva, and I'm going to talk to you about integrals, and I'm going to be explaining 3 different ways that we can find integrals using a graphing calculator. Now, before we get into the actual calculating part, we first need to understand what an integral is. And so integrals can be used for many different things. They can be used to find areas, volumes, central points, and other things along those lines, but they are mostly used to find the area underneath the line of a graph. Now, this could be a line, this could be a curve, this could be really any part of the graph, as long as it is above the x-axis. Because when we're measuring area, it's from the line all the way to the x-axis. And so, I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways that we can find a definite integral. And what a definite integral is you are basically just finding the integral for a certain set of data. So first we're going to just look at various different functions. So first, the first function that we're going to find the integral of is we are going to find y equals x squared plus 3x minus 1. Now, in order to do this, we need to get our graphing calculators out. And so, here we go. So the first thing that you want to do is, of course, to turn on your graphing calculator. And so the first way that we're going to find this is we are going to go to math, which is just right here, and we're going to scroll all the way down to 9, which says FNINT, and what that INT stands for is integral, and we're just going to press enter. Now, when we go back to our function, we need to define where we want to find the integral first. And so for this case, we can do the integral between x equals 1 and x equals 5. So those will be our bounds. Now, when we go to our graphing calculator, there are some things that we need to understand about the format of this. So this symbol here means integral, and then these 2 boxes here are where you put your bounds. The lower box is where you put your lower bound, and then your upper box would be where you put your upper bound. And so in this case, our lower box, we would put 1, and then we would just click the up arrow so that it goes back up to the upper bound, and we would put 5, and then we click the arrow that is pointing to the right so that we can get over to the parentheses. Now, within the parentheses, this is where you want to enter in your actual equation that you're trying to find the integral of. So you would go here with the button that says x, t, theta, n, because this is where you're obviously going to be using your variables. And so we're just going to do x over here to the caret so that we can raise it to the 2nd power. Then we click the right button again just so that we can get it out of that exponent space so that we can actually continue to write the rest of the equation, plus 3 back up to the x, and then minus 1. Then we click the right arrow again, and then to the right of D, we want to put the actual variable that we are measuring. And so in this case, it's x. If we had y equals t squared plus 3t minus 1, then we would enter in t. Most of the time you're going to find it to be x because x is just like the standard within math. And so once we have that all entered in, all nice and pretty, we press enter. And we get 73.3 repeating as our value. So our integral equals 73.33. And so if we were to actually graph this on this graph, then we would be able to see that this gives us the area from the bottom of that line to the x-axis. Now, this isn't, of course, the only thing that integrals are good for, and in fact, the integral is only a relation to the area, but just for the sake of this video, we're just going to be focusing on area. And so another equation that we could use so that I can show you the other way that we can use our graphing calculators to find an integral is, let's do a cubic equation just to make it a little bit more fun. We'll do y equals x cubed minus 3x squared plus x minus 12. And so now we are going to go back to our graphing calculators because this is just the simplest way to find the integral. And so the other way that we can do this is we can go to alpha over here and go to window. And if we look here, we can use our buttons here to get down to F and INT, or we can just press number 4. And so just like before when we went to math and we found F and INT, INT is once again the integral. And so then we're just going to press enter. And as you can see, it's the same layout as before. And so we're going to find, well, first we have to define where we want to actually find the integral. And so in this case, we'll do x equals 6, and we'll do it to 12. So our lower bound is 6. We do the up arrow. Our upper bound is 12. Right arrow, and then we just enter in our equation once again. X to the third power minus 3x. Oh, I did not follow my own instructions. So we do x to the third, press the right arrow, minus 3x to the second, again right arrow, plus x minus 12. We press right arrow again, press x, and then we just hit enter, and we get 3,330. $3,330 was our answer there. Now we have another way that we can find it, and this is going to be a more visual graphic representation using the graphing calculator. And so once again, we want to get some equation. I'm just going to make one up for us right now. So we'll do y equals x to the fourth power minus 14x squared, and yeah, we'll just leave it at that. And so now a way that we can solve this is actually entering this in a graphic way so that we can actually graph this line and then find the integral. But before we do that, once again, we need to set our bounds. So we'll do x equals 3, and we'll do it to 7. So now over here, we get our graphing calculator back. I'm just going to clear out any work that I did before, just so that I don't get confused later on. And I go up here to the top left corner and I press y equals. Now this is where you're going to actually enter in your entire equation. And so our equation this time is x caret 4, right arrow, minus 14x squared. And now we are just going to go over here to the top right button that says graph, and we're just going to click on that. And we're going to set our window, or let's do, in order to set your window, you can either set it manually by going to window and then entering in x minimum, x maximum, and then your y minimum, y maximum, or we can just go over here to zoom and we can do zoom fit or 0. Just press enter. And there we go. Now, in order to find the integral from a graph, we would take this button, second, which would allow you to get to all of the functions that are highlighted in blue. So you go to second, and you go to calc, and you go all the way down to number 7. Okay, sorry. To number 7, and you would press enter. You would set your lower limit using your arrows. Or you can just enter it in just regularly and you press enter. And then your y, or your upper limit would then be 7. Enter. And then it just calculates it all for you, and so our integral in this case is 1,838.133. So I'm just going to abbreviate it this time, equals 1,838.133. 1,838.13. And so now we have 3 different ways of finding integrals. The first being using our math function and going down to FNINT. Our second being alpha format, just kidding, alpha window, and going down to FNT. And then our third one being just going to our graph and having our graph calculate it all for us using second calc and going down to number 7. And so these are 3 ways that we can find integrals, and they are very, very useful and very easy to do through the calculator. And it does not require a lot of complicated math, just some button pushing, which is very, very helpful. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you.